Well, U.S Secretary of State John Kerry is holding a news conference with Afghan President Ashraf Ghani right now in Kabul. Kerry is in Afghanistan on an unannounced visit. He has been holding meetings with Afghan officials in an effort to reaffirm support for the country's unity government. Our senior international correspondent Nick Paton Walsh is in Kabul. Nick, what has the Secretary been saying so far?
Well, during this press conference that's now ongoing, he has actually, amongst a various series of endorsements of the national unity government and its bid to try and bridge its own divides, was quite clear. And one important thing here, he called again upon the Taliban to come forward and become part of peace talks. And that's something which the US has been pushing for years. And it's something, frankly, at this stage, it does still look unlikely. What we've heard instead from the Taliban is on the battlefield, where they have moved in the province of Helmand in the south to take more and more territory, to even threaten the provincial capital of Lashkar. And it comes after a very bloody year last year, where even the US itself accepts that 5,500 Afghan soldiers were killed in the fighting last year, and UN figures suggest a record 11,000 civilians were killed or injured, 3,500 actually killed. Just pause for a moment to think about those figures, Lynda. They are extraordinary. In fact, the military casualties alone in 1 year, far more than NATO experienced in its entire over a decade in war here. But John Kerry's visit today is very much on the political level, as we're seeing now, as he stands alongside President Ashraf Ghani after a lengthy meeting with the president and also his what's called CEO, Abdullah, the man he fought an election against but had to compromise in a shared government with. They have had serious problems here. The reforms which President Ghani's promised haven't been necessarily translating into a change in lifestyle for Afghans. That's led to some unpopularity for him. And the animosity that's often reported between the two men has reportedly been at the heart of some of its inability to basically get the infrastructure of the country rolling again. Some glimmer of light this morning when an Interior Minister and an Attorney General was finally confirmed by the Parliament, but they're still without a genuine Defence Minister or Intelligence Chief. They haven't been confirmed by MPs. And more importantly, at this stage, as we are weeks ahead from what's normally considered to be the fighting season, the warmer summer months when violence picks up, security here is at a very low point. As I mentioned, Helmand territory changing fast. A sense of the Taliban, I think, with renewed momentum under a new leader, Mullah Mansour. And that call, as we heard from John Kerry, for them to come to the peace talks table. I think the bid by the US to try and slow down the military agenda here. But frankly, I think most observers see the Taliban having so much momentum on the battlefield and the Afghan security forces experiencing, it's fair to say, substantial disarray, desertions, corruption, really hampering their ability to deliver the kind of response that NATO lengthily promised before its departure Afghan army would be able to do. Well, that's making many concerned that the months ahead, these warmer summer fighting months as they're called, could see further yet momentum from the Taliban. So John Kerry, an awful lot for him to address here. Very brave, I think, and solidarity is the face we've seen during this press conference. But you have to wonder behind closed doors what kind of message he's been getting. We've seen really, I think, one of the worst moments here in Afghanistan's imminent history. Even the head of the UN mission to here saying, frankly, if the national unity government merely survives this year, that will be success indeed, Lynda.
And that is true. A very good point. Nick Paton Walsh for us live from Kabul. Thank you very much.